Joining us today on MSUEagles.com is probably a man that doesn't need an introduction, at least for college football fans, especially college football fans in this part of the country. It's Andre Woodson, the former Kentucky quarterback, now the wide receivers coach here at Morehead State. Andre, welcome to the Eagle family. We're excited about you and your wife joining us here at MSU, and we know you'll do an outstanding job for this staff. Before we get into your college career as a player, which was very impressive on paper, let's kind of rewind to the early days and talk about your childhood growing up and maybe take us through your high school years, and then we'll get into more about college.
Yeah, I'm an Army brat. My mom was actually in the military, so we kind of moved around from year to year. I've lived in probably a total of 6-7 different states, Hawaii, Germany, just a couple. And then from there, I went to high school in Radcliffe, Kentucky, North Arden High School. And that's kind of how the University of Kentucky kind of recruited me in a sense. I was offered, I believe, the end of my 8th grade year by Hal Mumme. And from then on, they just continued to recruit me. And then eventually I made my way there, played there for 4 seasons, and then eventually went to NFL for 3. And then from the NFL, I came back to be a grad assistant there at Kentucky again. And now I'm here at Morehead State as the receivers coach, so pretty good deal.
I know playing in the Southeastern Football Conference, playing at Kentucky, playing in a state where professional sports really aren't a factor, you are the big deal. You are under the microscope. I would assume more times than not that's a good thing. I'm sure when things aren't going well, the fans and media tend to let you know as well. But let's talk about your first couple years at Kentucky. Mm-hmm. Your numbers as a junior and senior were outstanding, and I know you earned more accolades than we have time to talk about today. But I guess you got into the system and got some experience there. And were you a backup at first, and then kind of moved into the starting role? Is that how that
Yeah,
worked?
I originally was a backup behind Shane Boyd, where I had a chance to just kind of learning from him. He did a great job just communicating with me, educated me. He was kind of like my bigger brother, in a sense. And, that guy, I owe him a lot for everything he did for me. And I learned a lot from him. The next year, I kind of took over. Unfortunately, I lost about 3 of my starting receivers in the first 2 games. So the season wasn't as great as everyone probably expected it to be. But I learned a lot from that. I learned how to be humble at all times and just continue to work really hard, watch film, and just expect to do my best every single game. And in the last 2 seasons, obviously, we did a great job of turning everything around. We had 2 really successful seasons, and it appeared that we had turned the program around.
You passed for 79 career touchdowns, 9,360 yards, just shy of 800 completions, and let's focus a little more about your junior and senior seasons. I know by the time your college career was done, I believe you played in 2 bowl games. Is that right?
Correct.
And just kind of talk about the evolution of your college career and moving into that starting role and kind of being the guy. I know you're a humble guy and you don't want to look at yourself like that, but you're certainly the face and the name that was attached to that program your final 2 years.
Yeah, for the biggest part, I believe that all of us guys that were in that 07 class, we wanted to make sure that we left that program pretty much by finally putting it where it needed to be. And that was, at least at that moment, one of the elite teams. For a long time, a lot of people felt like the SEC for the Kentucky was the doormat of the conference, and for us, we just we took that as fuel. We tried to build on that every single day. We'd go out there and we work hard to prove people wrong and prove that Kentucky could be a football school. And I think we did that, for the most part. I think we went out there and we competed with those teams that were, for many years, considered the prestigious teams, the elite teams, and we went out there and we battled really well, and we came away with some victories that I think for the next couple decades will be considered some of the best victories in Kentucky history, and we're very proud about everything we did. I think that that junior year was probably that year that we finally showcased that Kentucky has a lot of ability, they have a lot of talent, and we took that into the senior year and just built on that and came away with probably one of the best victories in Kentucky history with the LSU game, and and I'm very, very honored and extremely happy about everything that I accomplished there, as well as my teammates in that senior class. And we talk and communicate all the time, and I keep the friendship with those guys because I felt like we did a heck of a job, and we left our mark for that team.
The Southeastern Conference in football especially is an absolute grind. Many people regard it as probably the best football conference in the entire nation, and I would probably agree with people who say that. But just talk about week in and week out, the wars you guys got in, and I know that you probably smile and grin at the same time, but you flip on NFL games on Sundays now, and you've got a lot of your teammates and good friends in the NFL, and you've got a lot of guys that you lined up against, and it reminds you of how good the league is.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how talented that league is, and it's no wonder why the NFL goes to that league every single year looking for NFL prospects. I mean, it's just loaded with talent, and a lot of those kids, you're watching on NFL, I played with them or I played against them, and every single week was a grind. You had to study and you had to prepare as if you were playing the number one team in the nation. And every single week you could never take a team for granted. You had to prepare yourself mentally and physically for a battle. And I think that's what we did those 2 seasons. And obviously I think that's why it showed that, we were a better team than what previously was showcased at Kentucky. So, it's no wonder why people watch SEC and why the last 6-7 years SEC team has won a national title. I mean, it's just there's just too much talent in that league right now, and I think it's just going to continue to grow. I think that conference is just amazing how much money is put into it, how dedicated the fans are. They support their teams. There's almost every single stadium you go to is almost 75 to 110,000 fans, and I mean it's a great experience. It's nothing like playing in SEC, not even NFL. There's none that can compare to that conference.
Andre Woodson is with us today on MSUEagles.com. He was recently announced as the new wide receivers coach here at Morehead State, and a former Kentucky quarterback who knows quite a bit about that position too, and I'm sure will lend his insight to the Eagles throughout the season. Andre, before we get into the transition to your coaching career, you did sign a professional football contract. You were drafted by the New York Giants of the NFL, and I know that you were hoping that experience would have lasted a little bit longer.
Sure.
You spent time with the Giants and the Redskins, but just talk about, I guess, the excitement of being considered a professional player and working out with those guys and the time that you did have in the NFL.
It was a wonderful experience, something I would never ask to take back. It's one of those opportunities where not a lot of people ever get to experience it. To hear your name announced in the NFL draft, no matter what round it is, it's something you'll never forget as long as I live. And, I got a chance to work with one of the greatest teams and greatest organizations in NFL history, in New York Giants. I got to work with one of the best coaches to coach the game, Tom Coughlin. And I got a chance to work with Eli Manning. I mean, not many people get to say that. And, it was a wonderful experience for me. I learned a lot with those 2 years, and, built some good friendships and relationships. And, I'm so proud of what I did with there and getting the Washington Redskins. Unfortunately, it didn't work out the way I had, I always dreamed it would, but at the end of the day, I had an opportunity to go out there and experience something that not a lot of people will ever. And I'm proud of that, and I'm extremely thankful, and I feel blessed for that opportunity.
When did it first cross your mind that you might be a college football coach, and maybe who were some of the influential people who convinced you that was the right path to take?
You know what? That's a tough one. There were several people. One of the first people, I believe, was Coach Rich Brooks. I talked to him a couple times about it, and Joker Phillips from now and then would kind of just throw it out there. But one of the main people I actually took advice from was Tom Coughlin. I remember there was one day we were actually in the Yankee Stadium, and we were sitting down at a table. It was just me and him, and I was talking to him about coaching. And one of the biggest things he told me was, when you get in the coaching business, nothing's handed to you. You're gonna have to start from ground zero, and you're gonna literally have to work yourself up. And I took that for stride, and I've tried to do everything I can to be a great coach thus far, and I'm gonna continue to do everything I can to be a great coach from here on out. And I respect that guy tremendously, and I kind of look up to him in a sense. And I'm trying to do the best job I can to coach these guys now here at Morehead, and I'll try to do a great job from here on out as well.
What lessons did you take from your playing career that are helping you now as a collegiate football coach Was it the determination and effort that's needed, the time management, the communication, the hard work? I mean, what could you pinpoint as lessons that you learned that are helping you now?
Well, I think there's several things. For one, I think one of the most important things that a lot of coaches get away from is the relationship that you have with the players, that bond. A lot of times, I don't think coaches realize that those kids look to the coaches as a father figure. Several of these kids come from, backgrounds where there was never been a father figure. There's never been that male person in their life to kind of help them, guide them in the right direction. As well, I think just being there, helping them, teaching them X's and O's. A lot of guys just play off pure talent. They're not being taught technique. They're not being taught mechanics. They're just kind of going out there and playing ball. And as well, I think just helping them understand how to study, watch film, take leadership skills. I mean, all of those things play a factor, obviously. And several times you'll see coaches just kind of coach them to just play. Or, if you could guide these guys at all and just kind of teach them how to do those certain little things, I mean, they could be that much better of a player and that much better of a person on and off the field. And to me, since I played the game, I kind of know what to expect, or what I would expect I would want to be coached at, or I would want in my life. And then, that's one of the things that I'm going to take advantage of is knowing that personally and trying to teach these kids and trying to be there for them.
And finally, Andre, I know it happened quickly, but why Morehead State? What attracted you to this opportunity, this program, this coaching staff, this part of Kentucky? What was the deciding factor? Because I guess before you got the call from head coach Rob Tenner, you were planning to go back to UK for another year as a graduate assistant.
Absolutely. I talked with Coach Stoops, and I talked to Coach Brown, and as well some other previous coaches, and you had to think about it, and after a while, they all felt like the best decision was to take this job. It was a great chance to finally get some experience, obviously get on the recruiting trail, and this is a great program, and it's just ready to burst, and there's a lot of talent here on this program, and it was just an opportunity for me to finally coach my own guys, and because of that, I felt like this was a great chance for me to get going for my college career, or for my coaching career, and I took advantage of that.
Well, Andre, we wish you all the best. I guess I can't let you go without letting you introduce your family to the Eagle fans. I know you were recently married. Tell us about your wife and what's going on the family front real quick.
Yeah, my wife, Erica Woodson, lives in Louisville, Kentucky right now. She's finishing her last year of school. And she plans on being a nurse. We actually originally met at Kentucky my first year there, so we've been together almost 9 years now.
Wow.
Married for a year and a half. And actually this June we are expecting our first child together. Just found this out recently, so I'm very excited, and she's very excited as well. And hopefully soon we'll find out if it's a boy or girl, and we're ready to introduce a new kid to our lives.
Well, congratulations on everything going on in your life, Andre, and once again, we're excited you're here.
Thank you very much.
Andre Woodson, former Kentucky quarterback, the new wide receivers coach at Morehead State. We'll have more coaching announcements and interviews on MSUEagles.com, so please stay tuned.